Hello everyone, a very good morning to all of you. Myself Rusikesh Sahu and I am teaching you Standard 9 Civics Chapter 2 and the chapter name is What is Democracy and Why Democracy. Dear students, today we will discuss about the fourth features of the democracy, and the fourth features of the democracy is that rule of law and respect for rights. In our previous class, we had already completed the three features of the democracy. The first features of the democracy was major decisions by the elected leaders, where we saw that all the decision must be taken by the elected rulers, not by any unelected rulers. The second features we saw the free and fair electoral competitions, and the last feature we had discussed in our last class, that one person, one vote and one value. That means we saw in every democracy all the people must have equal voting rights, where every people can cast one vote, and the value of that vote must be considered as one, because we saw in different examples, in Saudi Arabia the women does not have the right to cast their vote till 2015, and in Estonia has made its citizenship rule in such a way that people belonging to Russian minority find it difficult to get the right to vote. So these types of country cannot be called as a democracy, or cannot be called as a democratic government, where every people have not the right to cast their vote. So this is the last features we had discussed in our last class, that every people must have the right equal political rights, where every people can cast their vote and one person can cast one vote and the value of that vote can be considered as one. So in present day, or in today, we will discuss the last features of the democracy, rule of law and respect for rights. The question is that what do you mean by rule of law? Rule of law, that means the country must be ruled by the constitutional law, and respect for right means the basic rights of the individual, the basic rights of the citizen must be respected by the rulers, by the leaders. Through example we will able to understand what is the meaning of rule of law and respect for rights. So let's discuss Zimbabwe. We will discuss about Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe attained its independence from white minority rule in 1980. As you know, India also ruled by, before 1947, India is ruled by the Britishers, and we got our independence in the year 1947. So in the same manner, before 1980, Zimbabwe was ruled by white minority. Why they are called as white minority, or who is the white minority? White minority are those peoples, white peoples who came from foreign countries, because Zimbabwe peoples are look like blacks, their body color is black, and these white peoples are came from foreign countries, and their population is very less. That's why they are called as the white minority. And the peoples of Zimbabwe was at that time ruled by these white minority people, and Zimbabwe attained its independence from the white minority in the year 1980. And the party ZANU-PF played an important role in the freedom struggle of Zimbabwe. तो जिम्बाब्वे की जो फ्रीडम स्ट्रगल, आज़ादी के लिए जो लड़ाई हो रही थी, तो उसमें एक पॉलिटिकल पार्टी था जिम्बाब्वे का जिसका नाम था ZANU-PF, जिस पॉलिटिकल पार्टी ने सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट रोल प्ले किया था जिम्बाब्वे को आज़ादी दिलाने के लिए. And Robert Mugabe, an important leaders of this political party, and became the presidents of Zimbabwe after independence. So Robert Mugabe जो थे, Robert Mugabe an important figure of this party, an important leaders of this party ZANU-PF की वो एक सबसे important leader थे, important figure थे. इन जिम्बाब्वे आज़ाद होने के बाद रॉबर्ट मुगाबे became the president of Zimbabwe. तो जब जिम्बाब्वे आज़ाद हो गया 1980 में, तो उनका इलेक्शन हुआ और रॉबर्ट मुगाबे को जिम्बाब्वे का जो कि प्रेसिडेंट के तौर पर चुना गया. Since then he has been ruled the country, and as he became the president of Zimbabwe, independent Zimbabwe. So since 1980 he has been ruled the country, okay, as per the power of the president. After elections in Zimbabwe, elections were held regularly, and the elections always won by the ZANU-PF political party. 1980s के बाद वहाँ पर इलेक्शन जो होता था वो उनके कंट्री के रूल के हिसाब से इन एवरी 5 years or इन एवरी 6 years elections was held regularly in Zimbabwe. But the thing is that the differences is that the same political party ZANU PF own the elections again and again. एक ही पॉलिटिकल पार्टी जो कि इलेक्शन बार बार जीत रहा था, ये था सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम. तो रीजन क्या था? Why the same political party winning the elections again and again? Is that political party is more popular? Is that political party mostly doing everything what the people and fulfilling all the demands of the people? That's why the people support that political party? No. Maybe President Mugabe was the reason is that President Mugabe was popular leaders of that political party, for which maybe the political party winning the election again and again. And several other reasons are also there. The people think that Robert Mugabe used unfair practices to win the election. लोगों का ये मानना है कि रॉबर्ट मुगाबे तो एक फेमस पॉलिटिकल लीडर थे, इसके अलावा वो बहुत सारे गलत तरीके का इस्तेमाल कर रहे थे इलेक्शन को जीतने के लिए. गलत तरीका क्या था? बहुत सारे गलत तरीके हैं. सो उसी की तरह वो कोई भी गलत तरीकों का इस्तेमाल करते थे इलेक्शन को जीतने के लिए. एंड the Robert Mugabe and the government changed the constitution several times to increase the powers of the president. तो रॉबर्ट मुगाबे और जो गवर्नमेंट था, they amended their constitution in favor of them several times to increase the powers of the president. बार बार वो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को चेंज करते रहते थे, अमेंडमेंट करते रहते थे, जो कि अपने पावर को इंक्रीज करने के लिए, प्रेसिडेंट की पावर को इंक्रीज करने के लिए. और जो चेंजेस वो कर रहे थे, चेंजेस करने की वजह से क्या हुआ? मोस्टली द अपोजिशन पार्टी नेवर मैनेज टू वोन द इलेक्शंस इन जिम्बाब्वे आफ्टर इट्स इंडिपेंडेंस. तो बहुत सारा चेंजेस होने की वजह से जो कि पॉलिटिकल पार्टी, जो अपोजिशन पार्टी थे, वो कभी भी इलेक्शन जीत नहीं पाते थे. नेवर मैनेज टू वोन द इलेक्शंस because several wrong practices and bad practices was used by the Robert Mugabe and his party ZANU-PF to win the election. So what are the changes made through the constitutional amendment? क्या क्या changes उन्होंने लाया? First thing is that public protest and demonstration against the government was declared illegal. So लोगों का जो rights होता है in every democracy, it is the basic rights of the people to protest and to demonstrate against the government when government's doing anything wrong, or when government's doing anything bad, or a government is taking any wrong decision. But through constitutional amendment, पब्लिक प्रोटेस्ट एंड डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन डिक्लेयर्ड इलीगल बाय द गवर्नमेंट. तो लोगों का जो राइट्स था, बेसिक राइट्स था कि पब्लिक प्रोटेस्ट करना या गवर्नमेंट के खिलाफ आवाज उठाना, डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन करना, उसको इलीगल डिक्लेयर कर दिया. नॉट ए सिंगल पीपल्स इज अलाउड टू प्रोटेस्ट अगेंस्ट द गवर्नमेंट डिसीजन. Television and radio were controlled by the government and gave only the ruling party's version. That means here the television channel, the radio channels are totally controlled by the government. Censorship was imposed upon the media houses, where media houses totally controlled by the government, and media houses are only showing in support, only showing the pictures which is supporting to the government. Nothing showing against the government, nothing showing anything against the government. ना टेलीविजन में, ना रेडियो में, किसी भी तरह का जो कि गवर्नमेंट के अगेंस्ट में कुछ भी शो नहीं किया जाता था. जो भी शो किया जाता था वो गवर्नमेंट की सपोर्ट में, गवर्नमेंट की अच्छाइयों के बारे में दिखाया जाता था. देयर वाज एन इंडिपेंडेंट न्यूज़पेपर, बट गवर्नमेंट हरास्ड दोज जर्नलिस्ट हु वेंट अगेंस्ट इट. न्यूज़पेपर था जो कि इंडिपेंडेंट न्यूज़पेपर था, लेकिन जो जर्नलिस्ट गवर्नमेंट के अगेंस्ट में जाने की कोशिश कर रहे थे, गवर्नमेंट के द्वारा उनको हरासमेंट किया जाता था. तो उस वजह से कोई भी जर्नलिस्ट या न्यूज़पेपर कुछ भी जो कि गवर्नमेंट के खिलाफ में पब्लिश नहीं कर रहे थे. ओके, द गवर्नमेंट इग्नोर्ड समटाइम्स सम कोर्ट जजमेंट्स दैट वेंट अगेंस्ट इट एंड प्रेशराइज्ड द जजेस. द गवर्नमेंट डज नॉट ओबे द कोर्ट्स डिसीजन. So which kinds of democratic party is that? Which kinds of democratic government is that, where the government is not obeying the court's decisions or the court's order? This kind of government cannot be called as a democratic government, because our point is that rule of law, where the country must be ruled through the constitutional laws. What is the meaning of constitution? Constitutions means some basic rules, some basic regulations, or some basic laws through which the government and the country can be governed. But here we saw the constitution is amended several times by the President Robert Mugabe and his government in favor of them and in supports of them, to support them. So this kind of country and this kind of government cannot be called as a democratic government. So finally, Robert Mugabe forced out of its office in 2017. 1980s के बाद 2017, around 37 years is ruled by the Zimbabwe is ruled by the Robert Mugabe and by the leadership of Robert Mugabe. And finally, in 2017, Robert Mugabe was forced out of his office. So, through this example, the example of Zimbabwe, shows that popular approval of the rulers is necessary in a democracy, but it is not sufficient. So here we can say, after this discussion, after this example, discussing this example, we can say that popular government can be undemocratic and popular leaders can be autocratic like Robert Mugabe. रॉबर्ट मुगाबे और जानू पीएफ के द्वारा फॉर्मेशन किया गया जो गवर्नमेंट था वो डेमोक्रेटिक नहीं था, वो बिल्कुल अनडेमोक्रेटिक वे में रूलिंग कर रहा था। और रॉबर्ट मुगाबे जो थे वो पॉपुलर तो थे, लेकिन पॉपुलर होने के बाद ही इज रूलिंग लाइक एन ऑटोक्रेट, तो वो एक ऑटोक्रेट की तरह जो कि कंट्री को रूल्ड कर रहे थे। So if we access to a democracy, it is important to look at the election, बट इट इज़ इक्वली इम्पोर्टेंट लुक बिफोर एंड आफ्टर द इलेक्शन। अगर डेमोक्रेसी को एक्सेस करना है तो हमें इलेक्शन को देखना है, लेकिन इलेक्शन के आफ्टर एंड बिफोर सिचुएशन को भी हमें देखना चाहिए। अगर डेमोक्रेसी को अच्छे से एक्सेस करना है, उसको अच्छे से इवेलुएट करना है। देयर शुड बी सफिशिएंट रूम फॉर नॉर्मल पॉलिटिकल एक्टिविटी इंक्लूडिंग पॉलिटिकल ऑपोजिशन इन द पीरियड बिफोर इलेक्शन। This requires that the state should respect some basic rights of the citizen, where the citizen should be free to think, to have opinions, to express this in public, to form different kinds of association, to protest and take other political actions, and everyone should be equally in the eyes of law. The law must be same for all the people, maybe president, maybe a common people. The law must be same for all these people, and people must have some basic rights in a democracy. And that right must be respected by the states and by the government. If the government is not respecting the basic rights of the citizen, that government cannot be called as a democratic government. And the basic rights of the citizens must be protected by an independent judiciary whose orders are obeyed by everyone. But in case of Zimbabwe, we saw that the rights are not protected by the judiciary, and the orders of the judiciary are not obeyed by the JANU party and by the government formed by the JANU PF party. So that's why Zimbabwe cannot be called as a democratic country, and the Zimbabwean government cannot be called as a democratic government. Similarly, there are some conditions that apply on the way a government is run after election. A democratic government cannot do whatever it likes simply because it has won the election. इलेक्शन जीत गए तो उसके बाद एक डेमोक्रेटिक गवर्नमेंट अपनी मर्जी से क्या कुछ भी करेंगे, ये कभी भी पॉसिबल नहीं है, ऐसा कभी भी नहीं हो सकता है। इट हैज़ टू रिस्पेक्ट सम बेसिक रूल्स ऑफ द कंट्री। तो हर एक डेमोक्रेटिक गवर्नमेंट को कंट्री की जो बेसिक रूल्स होता है, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल रूल्स होता है, उसको फॉलो करना पड़ेगा। कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को बदलना नहीं है। कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में जो रूल्स कहा गया है प्रीवियसली, उसी रूल के जरिए कंट्री को शासन करना चाहिए। अगर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को अपने मर्जी से अपने फेवर के लिए हम बार बार बदलेंगे तो उसी तरह का जो कि गवर्नमेंट को भी डेमोक्रेटिक गवर्नमेंट नहीं कहा जाएगा। सो द गवर्नमेंट मस्ट हैव टू रिस्पेक्ट सम बेसिक रूल्स। इन पर्टिकुलर इट हैज़ टू रिस्पेक्ट सम गारंटीज टू द माइनॉरिटीज। जो माइनॉरिटीज हैं उनको गारंटीज भी देना चाहिए, बेसिक राइट्स का गारंटीज देना चाहिए। एवरी ऑफिस बियरर हैज सर्टन राइट्स एंड रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज असाइन्ड बाय द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन एंड द लॉ। तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के हिसाब से ऑफिस बियरर को चलना चाहिए, गवर्नमेंट को चलना चाहिए, क्योंकि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन हमारा देश की लॉ होता है, कोई भी कंट्री की लॉ होता है। Rule of law is that the country must be ruled by the law prescribed in the constitution, and where the ruler must be respecting to the basic rights of the people. Both these aspects gives us fourth and final features of the democracy. A democratic government rules within limits set by the constitutional law and citizen rights. Here, understand, a democratic government rules within limits set by the constitution. गवर्नमेंट को उसी लिमिट में काम करना चाहिए, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में जो लिमिट प्रिस्क्राइब किया गया है। और फंडामेंटल और सिटीजन राइट्स को भी उसी तरह रिस्पेक्ट भी करना चाहिए. Okay, this is the last feature of the democracy: rule of law and respect for rights. So what we learn from this, all these features of the democracy? We had already completed 4 features of the democracy. At first we had discussed that the first features of the democracy, the major decision must be taken by the elected leaders. Second features we discussed that free and fair electoral competition. The third features we discussed about one person, one vote and one value. And the last features we discussed that rule of law and respect for rights. So what we learn all from all this definition? So in short, here we can say democracy is a form of government in which the rulers are elected by the people. We learn that the democracy is one type of government where the rulers are elected by the people. एक ऐसा गवर्नमेंट है जहाँ पर रूलर्स जो होते हैं वो लोगों के द्वारा इलेक्टेड किया जाता है और इलेक्टेड होते हैं. Democracy is a form of government in which the rulers are elected by the people who takes all the major decision. And that means in every democratic country, the rulers are elected by the people and elected leaders are takes all the major decision. Not the selected leaders, not autocrats take any decisions in a major decisions in a democratic country. Elections offer a choice and fair opportunity to the people to change the current rulers. तो इसके अलावा इलेक्शन जो होता है इन एवरी डेमोक्रेसी, election offer a choice to the people and fair opportunity to the people to change the current rulers. If the current government is not fulfilling our demands, not fulfills our wishes, then election is an important important thing through which we can change that current ruler. Important or mostly equipment through which we can change our ruler. हमारे पास एक इम्पोर्टेंट एम्यूनिशन है जिसके जरिए हथियार है जिसके जरिए हम क्या कर सकते हैं, करंट रूलर को चेंज कर सकते हैं इलेक्शन के जरिए. दिस चॉइस एंड अपॉर्चुनिटी इज अवेलेबल टू ऑल द पीपल ऑन एन इक्वल बेसिस. तो जो इक्वल बेसिस के मतलब क्या, जो कि एवरी पीपल इन डेमोक्रेसी एवरी पीपल हैव इक्वल पॉलिटिकल राइट्स वेयर एवरी पीपल कैन अलाउड टू कास्ट देयर वोट. ऑल द adults member must be allowed to cast their vote irrespective of their caste, color, gender, religion, etc. And every people can cast one vote and the value of that vote must be considered as 1. The exercise of this choice lead to a government limited by the basic rules of the constitution and citizen right. The exercise of these choices, तो जो choices के बारे में, जो options के features के बारे में हमने पढ़ा, तो वो कह रहा है this exercise of these choices leads to a government limited by basic rules of the constitution. तो government की power को constitution के जरिए limited किया जाता है और government is mostly ruled the country through the process prescribed by the constitution, through the ways prescribed by the constitution, and the government and the state must have to be respect the basic rights of the individual citizens. Okay, that's all for today. And the next topic, the advantages of the democracy and the disadvantages of the democracy, we will discuss in our next video. That's all for today. Thank you. Have a good day.